you guys have a media company, right? You produce content. You have shows. You had Joe Button, was it?
Everyday Struggle.
Everyday Struggle, yeah.
And academics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Nadeska.
Remy Ma?
Nadeska.
Nadeska, yeah.
Nadeska?
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Great human.
So you guys produce content. You do shows. You have the Instagram thing. You got the sneaker. But all right. So the business. How does the business make money? You make money through advertisers. Right?
Yeah.
But you're saying that you don't want to be solely dependent on. So yeah, talk about the verticals.
Yeah. So there's
how that actually makes money.
So there's 3 verticals currently that we're focused on. So you think about premium content, and largely there the monetization is ads or sponsorship or integration.
What is the premium content for you guys?
It shows like 360 with Speedy Morman, idea generation, sneaker shopping, and a whole host of other shows. Like I would say we probably launch pilot somewhere around 20 shows a year with the hopes that, 10 to 20% will become successful and become like another 360 with Speedy. Like I don't know if you saw the episode last week. He had Go Real On.
Yeah.
2 days it did 50 million views. Crazy.
50 million.
2 days.
Wow.
Across
TikTok, Reels, and YouTube, mainly in the shorter form. That's why I was asking you guys about sort of your strategy there before. But, there's a couple of days there. You went on Reels or TikTok, and like fan pages are picking it up, commentary pages. I just saw her on, I think, Angel Reese's podcast or somebody else's podcast.
Nope.
She asked her about that. Like, oh, what's your type of guy? Like, oh, it's not Speedy. And it was like a whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
So that kind of content that, it's high production value. It's episodic, like it's programmed, like sneaker shopping comes out every Monday at noon. So fans can expect it. It's also good for the advertising community because they can sort of similar to like linear cable TV. They know it's coming. That's one part of the business. The other part of the business is e-commerce. So Complex, through all of its channels, has just over 100 million followers.
Let's get back to the first part of the business. That's part of the business. How do you monetize that? You monetize that through ads?
Yeah, there's traditional ads, and then probably 40% is traditional ads, and then 60% is what I would call bespoke advertising. So integrations, like you have this water bottle on the table now, it could be Sprite. And then Sprite would present this episode, and there might be a Sprite, I don't know, hot take moment or whatever that kind of moment is. It's like an integration.
Yep.
And then a smaller subset of that is more in-depth creative development where, let's just say another Coke brand, say just Coke Zero, we might work with them on creating content that's totally new to the world that has our hosts in it, but like they sort of like co-create the IP with us.
So you're getting the sponsors before you greenlight the show, as opposed to greenlighting the show and trying to pitch the show to sponsors.
We go both routes. So we are constantly launching shows with the intention of getting another, sneaker shopping, another Speedy, and other hot ones, like shows that do tens of millions of views with every episode. But sometimes we're getting, requests or briefs from, whatever, Apple, Samsung, et cetera. They're like, hey, we have something so specific we want to achieve that it can't fit creatively within one of our shows. So we will work with our development team to build something totally new to world that fits their business goals. Those shows are obviously much harder to go viral and be organic, but they satiate, the brand's needs to be like, uber specific around, I don't know, what financial literacy or whatever they would want to be talking about.
So when you're creating a strategy to approach the brands, obviously you have mega brands now, but go back to the beginning stages, even from the source up until this point. What was your strategy when approaching a brand? From from an ad standpoint, from, integration and into what you just spoke about.
So like the first part, I think what we were trying to communicate to advertisers around Complex and still do is this notion of convergence consumers. Youngish people that are just as interested in sort of traditional sports as they are action sports. They're just as interested in hip hop as they are reggaeton. They like streetwear as much as they admire couture, where most of the media before Complex was like, you like hip hop? It's The Source. You like menswear? It's GQ. You like action sports? It's Thrasher and Skateboarder. There wasn't like a cross-pollination. And obviously Mark, sort of growing up the way he was, like, he loved everything. He was making shirts for Tribe Called Quest, and he was skateboarding, he was, doing graffiti, and he was into gaming, all these things. So it's like, let's pull all these things together and really, what now is sort of very typical millennial culture and Gen Z culture, like they're consuming things from all different passion points. That wasn't so much the case then. So we were really educating them, hey, there's this new consumer who's interested in all of these things. And then we also had, Complex was always about, you remember the magazines, it was like half entertainment and then half purchasing. It was a buyer's guide. Mm-hmm. So our argument was like, hey, we are reaching a consumer who is literally wallet in hand or credit card in hand. Like there's a direct connection to the lifestyle and to the products they purchased, thus making the ROI on marketing to them stronger for the brands.
Well, I mean, the vantage point you speak of is pretty interesting, right? You start at the source, you watch Double XL, even Vibe. Those aren't here anymore. Yeah. Complex is still here. How does that, I mean, looking it back now, how did you learn from the lessons from, I guess, not the failures of them, but everything has its time span. How do you guys create the longevity after watching what happened to them?
Yeah, I think the one thing we're pretty obsessed about is winning the youth. Like we're constantly challenging ourselves to like not rest on the fact that like we've won the 25 to 35 year old audience, because pretty quick they're going to be 45. So if you're not winning 14 to 16 right now who admire the 21 and 22 year old, you're going to have a really hard time as a media brand. And I think you see that in other sectors too. Like look at the beer industry right now. Like the beer industry did not try and reach younger people. They did not try to reach people of different ethnicities and cultures. They stayed like in that very like, I don't know, mid-America lane, and like, who's checking for Bud Light right now? Who's checking for Coors Light? Who's checking for Miller? Like, it's not a thing. The only beer brand doing well is Modelo and Corona, and both of them did the opposite. Mm-hmm. I think you have to be obsessed with youth culture and what's next and reaching younger folks. Otherwise, you're going to age out. And I think that perhaps is what happened to those, or maybe they're, like also the print work. They didn't adapt from print, where we pretty, not perfectly, but we pretty aggressively adopted digital, then video, then social, now AI, trying to figure out formats that we can deliver in an AI universe. What does that look like in the future? And if you're not aggressive about that stuff, you're going to get left behind.
So you didn't get a chance to finish. What was the second and third leg of monetization for you guys?
So the second leg is e-commerce. So we are, like, if you go to Complex right now, there is a Shop Complex tab. Right now it's all drop specific. So we'll launch like a New Balance collaboration, or, Takashi Murakami artwork, whatever those kinds of things are. It's all like a limited time only launch. But next month it will become more of a omnipresent e-commerce marketplace, where there will be not just these limited time only drops. So the idea is that we basically leverage the scale, those 100 million plus consumers we're reaching every month, to not only super serve them on the content side, but serve them up the products and leverage our channels to serve up the products that they want to buy.